comfortable seat. Diego's at home. He sends his best. Since I rode my bike, he didn't get to come with me. So, but he does miss you. You're welcome to close your eyes or cast your gaze down. Find the ground beneath you. And lengthen your spine up towards the sky. And deepen your inhale. Deepen your inhale and lengthen your exhale. Draw your attention into the muscles and bones that move when you take a deep inhale. And also what's happening with the exhale. Drop your attention into the space of your heart. And then below your heart, your diaphragm. And see if you can feel the rib cage moving. When you inhale, can you feel the rib cage expanding out into the side body? And keeping your attention on the inhale, how the rib cage moves or doesn't move. So as the diaphragm is attached, it's the horizontal, one of the horizontal planes in your body, and it's attached all the way on the underside of the rib cage, the lower rib cage. So when you inhale, see if you can feel that full 360 degrees expanding. On the exhale, there's a little tone that can begin below your navel, a wrapping that comes all the way in, and the diaphragm is doming all the way up towards the bottom of your heart. The length of the spine stays consistent. So whether you're inhaling or with your exhale, can you keep yourself long and tall, rooted to the earth, but lengthening up towards the sky? And then you can relax if you were doing Ujjayi breathing or if you were practicing the balanced inhale and exhale. Let go of controlling your breath and simply observe again how your body is being breathed. Join your hands in front of your heart. So honoring this time that you've taken to come to your yoga mat to help support you, and that allows you to be better support to others. Others can be anywhere, others anywhere in the world. As we know, we are connected globally. So to open the practice, you're welcome to join me. I'm going to chant the sound of Om, and I'll sing Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. May all beings in all realms find peace, happiness, and may my words and actions support this. So to begin, take a deep inhale. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. And with your exhale, you can bow your head towards your heart. Release your hands, lift your gaze. And I want to have you come onto your back. I want to do a little work with the movement of the pelvis and a little work with the abdominals. So if you'll come onto your back with your knees bent, your feet on the floor. And let's just start moving the breath. So deep inhale, and with the inhale, tilt the pelvis forward. Pubic bone comes between the inner thighs. And with your exhale, lift the pubic bone back up. Sit bones are reaching towards the backs of the knees. You feel more connection to the ground. Keep your breath moving and your pelvis moving as well. And maybe you notice something different from left to right. It's possible, and it's possible you don't. And then after your next exhale, you'll just come into your neutral pelvis. So notice where your body touches the ground. The back of the head, your upper back, the back of the pelvis, your heels, the ball of the feet, and all 10 toes. Take another deep inhale. And with your exhale, lift just the heels. So when you pick up your heels, you might end up walking the balls of the feet a little closer to your pelvis. So my toes and the ball of my foot is still on the ground. I just picked up my heels. And then I'm going to put them back down. I want to notice when I pick up my heels again, just the heels, Can I feel the deepest abdominal layer wrap all the way around my body? It wraps around the side body, all the way to the midline of my body. And when that's engaged, actually, I feel more connection of my body to the ground. So there's some tone in the belly. So I want you to notice what that feels like so you can have a better idea how to engage that. And then bring the heels back down again. Deep breath in. Exhale, lift the heels. There's more connection at the back body. Inhale again. Now the inhale needs to be in the rib cage because you've toned the belly. So the inhale isn't going to be in the belly. It's in the ribs. And then take your hands behind your head. Lift your head up towards, so you're looking between the inner thighs. Rest your head in your hands. So now the lower ribs can they slide down? The lower rib cage sliding down toward the pelvis. And then bring your head back down. Bring your heels back down to the ground and release, let go. So by lifting the head, the point of lifting the head was so that you could feel how, oh, when I take the lower rib cage and I slide it down as well, I'm getting even more tone through the belly. That was the head lift. One more time. Pick up the heels. Inhale deeply. Exhale, lift the head with your hands. The head is supported by the hands. This might be enough. Or take the toes away from the ground as well. You're still breathing, you're not holding your breath, but the breath is not in the belly. And then exhale, roll the head back down, bring the toes down, the heels down, release the head, relax, rest. You kind of go, whoa, morning, okay. Okay then, morning, I got it. Deep breathing. So anywhere along the line, you can go back. If you feel yourself, the connection to the ground becomes greater because we're gonna keep using some abdominal tone, then you're gonna wanna drop back a little bit, all right? Hands behind the head again. Inhale deeply. Exhale, pick up the heels. Just lift the head to slide the rib cage down. Take the feet from the ground. Now, can you take your head back down and still keep the tone in the belly, the lower ribs down? Lift the shins to be parallel with the ground. And exhale, a little toe tap. Right foot, maybe left foot. But everything is steady in the torso. Your toe, beautiful. That's it. The knee moves away from the body when the toe taps down, obviously, but everything's staying steady through the core of the body. Okay, and then you're going to bring both toes to the ground and the heels and rest for a moment. Deep breath. Okay, one more piece. Let's take your left leg and reach it straight up towards the sky. Left leg towards the sky, right foot on the ground. So with the right foot on the ground, you can press into your right heel. You can press into the whole sole of the right foot. Hands behind the head again. Inhale deeply. This time you're going to exhale, you're going to take a little twist. So you're taking the lower right ribs towards the pelvis. The shoulder, the right shoulder's lifted, the left shoulder's lifted. Can you lengthen up towards the left foot? And then exhale back down. While you're up there, I want you to be breathing. And so inhale in the middle, exhale right foot up, lengthen the right leg, inhale, exhale, turn the torso a little towards your right. You're lifting the rib cage, you're breathing. Can you take like 2 more breaths? Rib cage has slid down, you're lifting yourself up, and then you exhale, come all the way back down. Relax. So you'll either do that one again with the, if you have neck issues, then you'll probably keep the head supported. Otherwise, you're gonna take left leg up to the sky again, right foot on the ground, press into the right foot because it helps you to find this connection through the front of the body. Reach the right arm straight up, inhale, and as you exhale, again, you're turning and lifting and reaching the right arm. Left hand can be behind the head, or maybe both hands. Breathing, breathing, turning, lifting, reaching, back to center, all the way back to the ground. Deep breath in. One more time, take the second side, right leg goes straight up. Left arm reaches up, inhale deeply, exhale. Turning the rib cage toward the right, reaching the left hand up, right leg up. And then with the next exhale, release back to the ground. Take the arms down alongside your body. Press into both feet. Inhale, lift the pelvis, lift the back of the head, lift both arms. You're just doing kind of like a little gorilla bridge. Exhale, release the pelvis back down, the arms back down. 2 more. I like to pick up the back of my head when I lift my arms up, because that way I'm not kind of putting any pressure into the cervical spine. And then just do 1 more. And then you'll exhale. That comes all the way back down the pelvis, the arms. Great. Roll over to your side. Use your arms. Press yourself up to all 4s. Inhale there. And then you're going to exhale and take either downward dog or puppy pose. And then everyone towards plank pose, if that's okay with your arms. You can be on the forearms. Back to either puppy or downward facing dog. Inhale, plank. Using the full inhale to get to your plank pose. And there you are in your plank. You're pressing finger pads and knuckles down. And exhale, downward dog pose. Reaching back with the hips, but strongly reaching into the finger pads and knuckles with the shoulder blades, wrapping and reaching. And then exhale, lower the knees. And just take child's pose for a moment. Deep breathing. All right, and then walk your hands back. So one of the areas I want to focus on today is also going to be in regards to what's happening at the front of the hip joint. Because we're spending time, or some of us might be spending more time seated, maybe we're not being quite as active, or, you know, even if we're actively riding our bikes or something, we're still really folding in the hip joint right here. So I want to bring your awareness into that area and to notice whether it's plank pose or some of the lunges, the different places we're working. See if you can bring your awareness in there and see how it changes depending on maybe what you try in regards to some of the suggestions I make. All right. So let's go ahead and go back to downward facing dog or puppy pose. If you're in downward dog, the big toe, lengthen the big toe away from the rest of your foot. Inhale, slowly, plank pose. So now in plank pose, I'd like you to reach the heels back. So you're going to be reaching the heels back a little bit. So the heels are actually behind the ball of the foot. Just notice the front of the hip joint, even in plank, when the heels are back. And then slowly bring the heels forward. Now they might be more over the ball of the foot. Notice the front of the hip joint. And now come even more forward. And then back to your neutral. And back to downward dog. Inhale deeply and exhale. Step your right foot forward. So you might need your yoga blocks. If you've got blocks or you've got large cookbooks or dictionaries, things like that. Which is thicker, a dictionary or the joy of cooking? Huh? Right foot forward. In your lunge, you can either have hands on your blocks or you might have your hands on the ground. So in the lunge, the front knee is a little behind the front ankle, not in front of it. And yesterday I suggested to turn the pelvis just a little bit away from the front thigh, slightly away from the front thigh. Let's inhale, step forward, and exhale, step your right foot back. On the back foot, come up onto the big toe ball, if that's okay with your toes. So the heel is lifted rather than having the heel back. You can experiment again. You can go, oh, so if I reach my heel way back, what do I notice at the front of my right hip? You can ask yourself. And if I lift my heel up, what do I notice at the front of my right hip? Turn the pelvis a tad bit towards the right. Good. And then let's step back, downward facing dog or puppy. Strongly reaching from the shoulders to the finger pads and the knuckles. Long spine. Let's inhale, lift the right leg up behind you if there's room. And exhale, right foot forward, low lunge. Come up on the ball of the back foot. Notice what's happening at the front of the left hip. And again, you can experiment. You go, if I take my left heel back, what do I notice at the front of the left hip? And if I lift it up, can you lighten the hands? And we're going to come upright. Arms can either be wide or alongside the ears. The gaze can be either down, straight ahead, or up towards the sky. Inhale the arms out. Exhale, bow forward. Step back, downward dog. Inhale, lift the left leg. And exhale, left foot forward. Up on the ball of the back foot. Pelvis is turned a tiny bit to the right. Lighten the hands. and come upright. Arms in any position. And the gaze as well. Do I need to be more grounded? Maybe if I stare at the ground, look, gaze toward the ground. Or equanimity, I can look straight ahead. Or if I'm feeling a little more optimistic, I might lift my gaze. Inhale the arms out. Exhale, bow. Inhale, step forward. Exhale, forward fold. So you're in Uttanasana.
Lynn, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
When we were in the low lunge and you were talking about giving more space by tilting your pelvis, I can't get that because I feel like mine is more.
It's not a tilt, it's a turn. And thank you, I'll clarify.
Thank you.
So let's come all the way up to standing. Good. And then bringing the arms down. And let's try something in standing for a second. So if in standing right now, if you stand and you take let's just take the right leg and simply step it back very small and turn it very, very minutely to the right. It's not a huge turn. It doesn't have to be turned much, but I notice that what's happening here and what's happening at the front of the left hip. I barely turn it. Step back. In other words, we have the ASIS here. If I keep this completely squared when I go into a low lunge, it's if the pelvis doesn't have this tiny bit of a turn, there's a little impingement that can happen at the front of the forward leg. So in other words, if I pay attention to the left side again, front of the left hip, and just notice when I take the right foot and I turn it, it's very small. It's not a big turn, it's like 5 degrees. I turn my right foot about 5 degrees and it's back about 6 inches. And what I notice at the front of the left hip, does it feel a little more spacious? Let's step back to both feet being parallel. I know this is requiring you to like really get into this, noticing this space. So if you go now, okay, I've got my pelvis is pointing straight ahead. Those 2 little hip points, the headlights are straight ahead. Now, keeping my attention in the front of the right hip, you know, this is right, you know, from the pubic bone, if you were like at the sides of the pubic bone, you only go up about an inch or an inch and a half. It's not way up high, the hip joint. It's deep in, close in. Then I'm going to just shift my weight slightly to the right. And I'm going to take the left foot. I'm only going to step it back just a few inches, but I'm going to also give a little turn. Like my pelvis makes a very small turn left. It's not huge. Turn it the other way. Turn your pelvis a tiny bit to the right. And what happens at the front of the right joint? Do you feel like it's smaller? Shake your head. No, yes. Yay! I had shake. I'm so excited. And then if you take the pelvis and you turn it very slightly left, what happens at the front of the right hip? Do you feel it get a little more space? Great. Okay. So that's the movement within the pelvis is not a lot, but in a low lunge, it is slight. This will make sense as well in Warrior 3 that Carol was asking me about the other day. All right, so let's do a little more with this. Well, let's bring you've got your blocks, they're at the top of the mat. We're gonna go through sun salutation. Let's do it that way. And just keep some awareness on what's happening in this space at the front of my hips as I move through this next little series. All right. So take your hands, you're at the top of your mat. I'm going sideways just because I think sometimes that helps. But you can always tell me differently. And then with your next inhale, lift your arms. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, let's take the right foot back. So there's the low lunge. Hands can either be on blocks or the ground. So in the low lunge, just, you might notice if you take the front of the right hip and you drop it down, if you turn it towards your front leg, you might notice the inside of the left hip, groin, narrows. If you take the front, the ASIS, that pelvis, and you just lift it ever so slightly towards the right, what happens in that area at the left front? So it just becomes a little broader, not so narrow. You're on the ball of the back foot for this anyway at the moment. I'm not saying the other way is wrong. All I'm saying is that for us right now, in focusing on opening the front of the hip joint, we're going to keep the back heel lifted and come upright. Inhale the arms back out. Exhale, plank pose. And in plank pose, let's reach back into the heels. Noticing the front of the hip, transition straight forward through the ball, the tiptoes, straight back into the heels, forward, lower the knees. Exhale, bring the chest down. Inhale, a cobra pose. Exhale, lower. Inhale, all fours, plank. Exhale, downward facing dog or puppy. The big toes lengthen forward, away from the mid part of the foot. Let's inhale and take the left leg up. Exhale, left foot forward. Nope, that's the wrong foot. I just realized. Right foot up. Right foot forward. So in the low lunge, you might notice if you're turning towards the front leg, if you're turning your chest and all towards the front leg, what's happening at that very inner right hip joint. And if you take the ASIS on the left and just turn the pelvis a little bit left, it's slight. But you see, I'm hoping you don't feel as much weight in the upper right hip. And come up. Inhale the arms out. Exhale, bow. Even in bowing forward, how do you keep space there? Inhale, step forward. Exhale, bow. Inhale, let's come all the way up. And exhale, hands back in front of the heart. And then I just need to check in with Diane to see if that made sense.
Yes, it just clicked like that last move. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions though? Well, I mean, we'll keep working, but I think what happens is oftentimes we think of the hips as being out here, but we're talking about the hip joint itself. So it's more narrow, right? It's inside here. And that's the space where over, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of low lunges, if we're narrowing that space, then we're impinging right there. So we just want to increase what's happening through that space. All
Lynn,
right.
do you have the exact same anterior tilt on both sides, or is it asymmetric?
In the low lunge.
Yes.
In the low lunge, you're letting the pubic bone move back. It's going to be there's some asymmetry for sure, because the two ilias are doing different things, just like in walking. When I'm walking, right, when the left foot's back, the left foot's forward and the right foot's back, the ilia are different positions. Same thing in the lunge. The back leg ilia is anteriorly tilted. Yeah. And if that makes no sense, don't worry about it. All right, I want to take one more sun salutation. In this one, we're gonna, in the low lunge, we'll go upright, we'll come down, and we're gonna bring the back knee down. So you might wanna have some extra padding, a pillow or a blanket or something if you need more padding on the ground. All right, so coming to the top of the mat, hands in front of the heart. Inhale, lift your arms. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale halfway. Exhale, downward facing dog or puppy. Inhale, let's lift the right leg. And exhale, right foot forward. Inhale, upright. Exhale, fold forward. We're going to bring the left knee, the back knee down towards the ground, if that's all right. Release the top of the foot or keep it tucked. You might go, well, what happens at the front of the left hip joint? If I tuck my toes under, what do I notice at the front of the left hip? If I take the foot flat, what do I notice? I'm not saying one is right or one is wrong. Well, what's happening there at the front of the hip? So you're lengthening through, the right knee is coming forward of the right ankle. Hands can either be on blocks or the top of the right thigh. And at the front of the left hip, I want that, I'm not going to let it just completely, the femur completely fall all the way forward in the hip joint. Again, in that subtle space of the hip, I'm going to draw it back just a little. And then we're going to exhale, come forward and step into plank. One more time, let's inhale, come forward onto the balls, the toes, lower the knees. Exhale, bring the chin and chest down. Inhale to a cobra. Exhale, lower. Inhale, all fours, plank. Exhale, downward facing dog. You're going to be in this downward dog for a few breaths.
Once again, can you notice that space? How is it different at the front of the hip joints? Are you strongly reaching from the shoulder blades into the finger pads and knuckles? And taking the rib cage toward the pelvis. Lengthen the rib cage to the pelvis. Pubic bone goes back between the inner thighs. So the pelvis is releasing away. And then we'll take another deep inhale, a complete exhale. And then it's inhale, lift the left leg up. When you lift your left leg up, reach out the left leg. Come up on the ball of the right foot. So really strong reaching out the left leg. And then exhale, left foot forward. Hands can be on blocks or the ground. You're up on the ball of the back foot. And the pelvis has a very slight turn to the right. And inhale, up we go. Inhale the arms out. Exhale, bow forward. Let's bring the back knee down. Make a choice about what's happening to the top of the right foot. If you have blocks, you can use them, or the hands to the top of the knee. The left knee is going forward of the left ankle. And right above the pubic bone, especially on the right side, just to the right of the pubic bone. I'm not going to lift the pubic bone up, but I am going to lift on the inside of me up so that I'm going to let the lumbars reach up out of the pelvis. And then we'll exhale, come forward. Lift the back leg. Inhale deeply. Exhale, step forward into Uttanasana. Inhale halfway. And exhale, we're going to stay in this Uttanasana for a moment. And I'd like you to imagine if there was a strap that was around about the level of the knees, just above your knees, and you were to press out into that strap in Uttanasana, see what you notice at the back of the pelvis sacrum. Can there be some broadness if you imagine pressing into some resistance at the outer lower thigh knee area? And then let's shift the hands on the hips. Inhale, come up. Exhale, hands in front of your heart. And relax both arms. It's always so interesting to be like doing the poses and talking. I'm like, oh, my this is coming through. All right, so let's take tree pose. If you want to move to a wall, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, if you're going to be at a wall, I would suggest having a wall on the left side of you, because we're going to stand on your right leg first. Okay, so shift your weight towards your right. Lengthen into the ground and reach all the way up out of the low belly on the right. And bring the left foot up. You're going to press your inner thigh into your left foot if the foot's up that high. Arms can be wide or maybe up alongside the ears. And release. So if you remember, in tree pose, you're going to want to be standing over the inner thigh, not counterweighting, you know, but bringing yourself up and over your inner thigh as best you can. So we're shifting the weight left, lifting the right foot. Even if the right foot is on the inner shin. Can you gaze straight ahead? Can you reach out of the belly? And then release. Mountain pose. Let's inhale, lift both arms. Exhale, let's take another Uttanasana, forward fold. You might shift the hands a little forward so that you can bring the hips, the greater toe canters, right over the ankles instead of behind them. So sometimes we need a little more support from the hands, but can you bow the torso forward over the legs? Release the back of the neck. Then we'll walk the hands back, shift them to the hips, and come all the way up. And exhale, hands in front of the heart. All right. So let's, if you have a piece of furniture that you were going to use to put the right leg on. So that might be, I mean, you might not have a chair like that, right? We don't often have chairs like that at home. But maybe there is a chair that you can use, or a desk, or maybe there's a counter, or there's a rail, or I don't know. So we're going to put the right leg up first. So you're going to shift the weight to the left. The left foot is going to be not directly close in. It's going to be slightly out. You're going to shift over to the left and take the right foot. It's either going to go onto the back of the chair or onto the seat of the chair. And you're going to not be facing directly at it. I want you to turn a little bit away from the lifted leg. So you're kind of at a 45. Yeah. All right. And is the pelvis on the raised leg side? Take the pelvis away from the raised leg. So if I feel like, is my pelvis lifted up and trying to go with my lifted leg? Or am I able to drop the right sit bone down? Lengthen out the right inner thigh towards the knee. Let's lift the left arm up. And exhale, there might be a small side bend. The side bend, again, has a little forward to it. It's not directly just to the side. I have to turn slightly, just a little bit, towards my lifted leg. Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't need to be much. You might just enjoy being vertical. And then we'll come up. Release the arm. Let's take the leg off, the chair that is, or whatever. Okay, we're gonna do the other one. All right, so the right leg's gonna be the standing leg, and the left foot's going up to something. And the first thing I'm gonna watch is, okay, so I'm pointed a little bit, oh, I'm not pointed straight at my leg on this one. I'm a little bit at a 45. I wanna notice, can I take the pubic bone and sit bone away from the raised leg? Or is my pelvis getting lifted up towards the leg? I'm exaggerating, but can I bring the pelvis so it'll come more down? Yeah. Reach the right arm up. Reach down into the standing leg. Lift all the way up through the side body. Inhale deeply. Exhale, there might be a little bit of a side bend. And when I do, if I am, then I need that left pubic bone to be coming away from the left inner thigh. And then we're going to inhale, come up. Exhale, release. And come back to standing. You can come back on your mat. You won't need your chair. You can go back to where you were if you moved. So Carol had asked me, Warrior 3, Lynn, is my pelvis completely level towards the floor? And it's not actually. The back leg is you're gonna notice this if you're paying attention to what's happening in the front standing leg, right? Because in that standing leg, I want to be lifting up and out of the standing leg. And so as we've been paying attention to that space at the front of the hip joint, I'm going to be lifting out of that space. If my pelvis is a little lower on the lifted leg side, you can do that. Like right now you go, okay, my right leg's my standing leg and my pelvis is turning towards it. Do you feel that space get smaller? So I want to make sure that space doesn't get smaller when I'm going to be standing on the right leg. Well, let's try it. Let's try Warrior 3. So let's take the left toes on the ground. So the left foot is just a little bit behind me. I'm on the ball of my left foot. And I know I'm going to commit to my right leg. And I'm going to try to also keep this space at the front of the left hip, the lifted leg, spacious. Let's take the arms out. And exhale, pick up the back leg as you bring the torso down. Notice the front hip as well. Reach out the back leg, strong. And then come up. Lift the arms up. Bring your hands back down. So just like when you were in downward dog and you took one leg behind you, and I said, really reach out that leg. I want you doing that in this as well. Reach out the lifted leg. Be strong through both legs. The standing leg is straight. The back leg is strong through the inner thigh, near the knee. So let's shift the weight towards your left leg. Take the right foot, toes tucked under. Inhale the arms out. And exhale, it's Warrior 3. So the back leg lifts. You might have right arm forward, left arm back if you want to do the cross crawl. Come up when you're ready. Lift both arms. Take your time. And exhale, hands back in front of your heart. All right, let's let that go. Let's come down to the ground. And you might say to yourself, wow, that Warrior 3, when I'm out walking today, maybe I'll try that somewhere amongst some trees and see if I can practice that weight shift. All right, so I want to just take a bridge pose. If you like to have a blanket,
You could have a blanket go underneath just the shoulders. If you don't, it's okay. You can be flat on the floor. Either way, I know for some of us, we just don't have as many props when we're at home. But wherever you are, lie down on the ground like you did at the beginning of class. Both feet are on the floor. And are the knees, hips, and ankles the same width apart? And sometimes we have our feet too far from our sit bones. So make your, you might bring the feet a little closer so that you can feel the shins are more vertical. And then we're gonna inhale, lift the hips. Bring the arms into like fingertips pointed to the sky, but the back of the upper arms on the ground. So we call it sometimes robot arms. Lengthen out the inner thigh towards the knee. Straight down the tibia, the shin bone, toward the heel. And then exhale, release. And then let's do it again. We can set the arms up first if you want. And when you're ready, you'll inhale, lift the hips. You're on the tops of the shoulders, maybe the backs of the arms, and reach out the inner thighs toward the knees, down the shins toward the heels. Exhale, lower. And let's do one more. When you're ready, on your own. And releasing. Bring the knees to the chest and cross your ankles. And then can you, you've got the knees to the chest. So you might even take the hands below the knees, draw the knees even closer. And then can you grab onto the little toe sides of your feet? You could go over the tops of your feet and grab on. The ankles are still crossed, or the shins. Cross your shins. Maybe that's easier. Shins crossed. So just notice whichever shin is on top right now. There you go. And what's happening at the back of the sacrum. This is about, if you're able to take the knees wide and cross the shins, can that create a little more broadness across the back of the sacrum? And then let's switch sides. Other shin on top. I go across, I take my hands across the tops of my feet to grab on to the little toe side. What's happening at the back of the sacrum? And then let's release that. All right, can you roll over to one side and come back up to sitting? And can we take this into a pranayama technique to do before Shavasana? So make sure, and if you want to sit in a chair, sit in a chair. Just wherever you are, make your seat a comfortable seat. Give yourself enough height. I'm going to scoot in a little closer here. All right. So I want to, again, practice that inspiratory muscle training we've been working on. We've been working on just getting the breath
one of the outcomes is to get the breath to be more in the lower part of the rib cage, back of the rib cage. Shift that down a little. Okay. All right. So with this, we're going to constrict the inhale. So the inhale is going to be through the nose, but it's going to be constricted by how much pressure you put on right below the bony cartilage of the nostrils. You're going to decide, how constricted do I want to make this? You can use either thumb and pointer. You can use pointer and ring, whatever you want to use to create a little constriction on the inhale. So the inhale, and then you release any constriction and exhale right back out the nose. We're going to do 10 breaths. On the last exhale of the 10th exhale, you're going to hold the exhale out as long as you're comfortable. And then you'll inhale when you're ready. Any questions before we go? I know we've been doing this for a while, some of us. I'll put the little oximeter on my finger, just because that's been an interesting bit of information. But let's go ahead and we'll take the fingers right below that bony cartilage of the nose. So just take a normal inhale and a normal exhale. The breath is going to be in and out through the nose. And when you're ready, slightly constrict on the inhale. On that 10th inhale, you're going to slowly exhale back out. Exhale, 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 exhale. Hold the breath out. Inhale when you're ready. Okay. Any questions before we do another round? You can always hit the space bar and just ask me. You're ready. We'll do another round of that.
I have a question.
Was there a question?
I have a question. So it's inhale, exhale, 10 times.
You got it. And only the inhale is constricted. The exhale, completely let go of that constriction. I don't move my hand away, but if I was showing you, you know, it'd be like, you know. So the exhale is not restricted at all. Only the inhale has a slight constriction. 10 of those. Hold the breath out after the 10th. Inhale when you're ready. All right, here we go. Inhale when you're ready. And we'll take one more round. This will be the last round. After this round, you'll be welcome to stay seated or take Shavasana whenever you're ready. Remember, you're not retaining the inhale. You're holding out the exhale. And when you're ready, you're inhaling deeply. Normal breathing. And you're welcome to
And just sit for a moment. And then bring yourself to Shavasana. I'll keep time on Shavasana, and I'll bring you out of it by 10:15. And if you want to stick around and check in, you're welcome to do that. With the sound of that bell, you're welcome to allow your breath to deepen. Just allowing yourself to connect again to your inner body. Connecting to your inner body to help increase your awareness. And you can gently begin to move your fingers or toes. And just make a mindful transition to one side. Using your arms to come back up to sitting. Bringing your hands in front of your heart. And it's Thich Nhat Hanh who says, when we bring our mind home to our body, we can enter the here and now and discover our true aliveness and our genuine connection to ourselves and others. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. You are welcome. I'm going to come a little closer so I can see a little better, and you can, you're welcome to unmute yourself if you have anything you want to share.
Thank you, Lynn.
Yes, you're very welcome.